This ought to be pretty cool. Check this out. Hi, I'm Alan Hain, and I'm the Lawn Care Nut. Now you watch this channel probably because you want some lawn tips, and that's what I give out here generally. But I'll tell you there's one real reason that I do this channel, and one real reason is why you probably watch and don't even know it. And that is so you can dominate, like you see me doing here, dominating my neighbor. And so today that's what the video is all about. I'm going to give you tons of tips, next level tips, on how you can dominate your neighbor at your house starting this weekend. Okay, so the first tip is pretty simple. I just want you to mow taller than your neighbor does. It's the same reason why tall people stand out in a crowd. A tall lawn will definitely stand out in a crowded turf area. So there's tip number one, mow taller to dominate. Tip number two is one that fans of this channel love, and that is mow lawn stripes. Of course, lawn stripes in general are going to make your lawn look that much more stunning and help your neighbors know that they've been dominated. But there's another tip, and that is make sure that you look for your $100 view. Your $100 view is the view from the front of your house or where most people are going to see it from. When you're mowing your stripes, make sure that from your $100 view, when the sun is correct, that the darkest stripe is against your neighbor's lawn. You know you have dark stripes and light stripes, and I'll link to a video that I did just a couple weeks ago on how lawn striping works and the science behind it, because it's really cool. But if you know what I'm talking about, make sure that that last stripe on the end by your neighbor's house is a dark stripe from the $100 view in the right light. Now, I have heard of instances where super lawn care nuts will actually define those stripes on the end like 3 or 4 times in one mowing. I don't know who would ever do that. Who would ever go back and do quadruple work just to make their lawn look better and dominate? Beats me. And the last mowing tip is actually an edging tip. I like to use a metal bladed edger, and I don't do any kind of sculpting of the edge. I like it to be straight up and down, dead set, 90-degree angle to the sidewalk. That's another way to separate and dominate. Okay, so having better mowing practices is definitely a way to dominate, but I'm going to show you a next level tip now, and it has to do with your fertilizer spreader. Okay, all right, so here I am with my trusty spreader. Now this is an Earthway. This is just kind of a general purpose spreader that I've had for years. One thing that it's missing, that a lot of homeowner spreaders are missing, is what's called an edge guard. All right, so before we talk about an edge guard and I show you this really cool trick, let's talk about what a trim pass is. So when you fertilize, the first thing you do is you do a trim pass, and you basically outline your entire area that you have to do in a nice, even, trim pass. And the reason you do that is because then you're going to fill in the middles, and that way it keeps the edges even. That way you don't have these weird swipes and sweeps. If you do a nice trim pass first, it'll keep everything nice and even. Hope that's... Now you can make a trim pass with one of these. You just have to be a little bit careful and understand how far out the fertilizer is going on each side. What makes things easier and actually gets you better results though is if you put an edge guard on and it kind of drops down right here, and then the fertilizer that flies off of the wheel here hits that edge guard and falls straight down. And what that does is it makes a really nice defined line of fertilizer in the grass, and that line will eventually show off between you and your neighbor. So there we are, DIY edge guard Took 4 minutes to make, and it's gonna make all the difference. Next level domination. Once you've done your trim pass, rip off the edge guard and fertilize like normal. Well, if you're still with me, you must be a total and complete lawn care nut. You're my kind of friend. So next tip is just about edging still, but on days that you fertilize, I want you to go ahead and make sure you edge for sure right after you fertilize, and then you blow the fertilizer that gets on the sidewalks, you blow that into the cracks of the sidewalk where you edged. Doesn't really do too much, except it's just a good way to not let fertilizer run off, but it will keep the edges nice and green. All right, these last 2 tips are all about the show, baby. You got the go, now you got to get the show. And the first one is, when you take pictures of your lawn, always take them from a high angle with the sun behind you. This is going to give you the best results, and it's going to look a lot better on Facebook when you take your pictures the right way. Next, let's talk about Instagram. It's important to show our lawn off there too. Now, it's important what filter you use, and I'm going to tell you right now, the Mayfair filter is the best filter to use for Instagram. It's going to give the lawn that extra deep green blue flavor that we really like. Now, some people would say, well, that's cheating, and I'm telling you what, when it comes to dominating, I will use all that technology offers. So there you go. There's your tips on dominating your neighbor. I hope that these have helped you, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe where I give lawn tips here almost every single week. I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you in the lawn.